Well, congratulations are in order for Kourtney Kardashian and Travis Barker, who tied the knot over the weekend, ditching the big white wedding and going for Elvis and a Chapel of Love.
And they're not the only ones rejecting traditional nuptials in favour of elopement, with the average cost of a wedding tipping more than $36,000 in Australia. For more, the wedding marketer founder, Elise James, joins us now. Elise, good morning to you. Why are more people opting out of big weddings?
Look, I think that it's really a case of it's always been something that people have done, but particularly in the last 2 years where, you know, the whole wedding industry had to actually change as a result of the pandemic. People are now seeing that there are these other options available to them and they actually might be a little bit more appealing. So for couples who might have had to have been trying to postpone their wedding date 2, 3, 4 or more times even, they're finding that having the smaller ceremony and just eloping is actually a lot easier. And for the couples getting engaged during that time as well, it's much more appealing for those couples as well when they don't have to worry about what may or may not happen.
So what are the pros and cons of choosing to elope?
Well, look, I think the biggest con is usually, and what deters most people, is that you can't have your friends and family there. But depending on what you actually want for your day, that might actually turn out to be a pro.
Yeah. Depends on your family,
Depending on your family.
Exactly. But, you know, you've got the biggest thing that is that it makes it back about you as a couple, and that's the biggest thing about elopements and smaller weddings, is that it brings it back onto you. You don't have those other influences that might be family or friends trying to tell you what you should or shouldn't do, and you can kind of get to do exactly what you want to do. And that's why we're seeing a lot of celebrities buck that tradition, because, you know, their whole world is about being told what to do essentially, so they get to really make it about them. And for some couples it is a factor of the cost as well, and it means that they can, you know, most couples nowadays they're living together earlier, they've been together for longer periods of time, they might be older as well, so they might want to put that money towards buying a house or going on a bigger holiday rather than having a wedding. So having a smaller wedding can do that.
Yeah, it all makes sense. I guess the hardest part though is telling your loved ones and your family in particular that they're not invited to the most special day potentially in your life. How do you navigate that conversation?
Well, I think that's why with a lot of elopements you see people actually just doing it first and then asking for forgiveness later.
Sure.
But it is a case of, you know, first of all, figuring out who you need to tell and how to tell them. So, you know, especially if you've already sent invites out and then you're scaling back from there, who just gets a message or an email, who has to have a phone call, and who you really have to actually sit down with and tell them in person to kind of soften that blow, and talking to them about the reasons behind it, the facts, the figures if you've got them, of why you've done it, and also letting them ask questions if they're a bit anxious about it, and kind of just coming back to the fact that at the end of the day it is your wedding, it's about you, it's not about them, it's what they've done hopefully hasn't been the reason why you've gone and eloped, and finally just, you know, you've got your partner there to support you, do it together, to kind of take on this challenge together if you know that someone might be particularly difficult to talk to about it, and have that backing there from the get-go.
True. Now, obviously, there's the celebrities like the Kardashians, or now Sophie Monk we saw at the weekend doing private ceremonies. Do you think that the big ones are just going out of fashion, particularly with cost of living going so high through the roof?
Look, I don't think we'll ever see the drop of the big traditional wedding. I think that that's still what a lot of people want. They want to be able to celebrate their love with friends and family. But what we are seeing more is, and we've been seeing it across the last 5 or even more years, is that weddings are becoming more personalised, and that's really what elopements are. They're a really intimate ceremony where it becomes just about you, and that's why we're seeing all of those personalised trends of couples deciding to have their dogs involved in the ceremony, or of having, you know, their own signature cocktails, and all of those little things that get back to couples being able to do it their way and having their own trends. So
Absolutely.
I don't think we'll see those bigger weddings disappear, but we will see them become more and more personalised as people realise that they don't have to do what they think what everyone thinks that they should be doing.
Of course.
Expectations are changing. We appreciate your time, Elise. Thanks for
Thanks,
joining
Elise.
us. Interesting topic.